Hi, my friend Kevin here. Previously, I talked about Toronto housing market and Canadian housing market in my other videos. These videos have been well received, and today I'd like to talk about Calgary housing market. Before we start, please destroy the like button below and smash the subscribe button if you haven't. Now, let's get started without further ado. Today, I'd like to talk about my findings from a few reports generated by CREB, Calgary Real Estate Board. Let's start with February statistics. In the month of February, there were about 1,800 units of sales, which is 54% higher than that of prior February, and it's the best February since 2014. New listings also increased by 13.2%, but due to strong sales, the inventory was reduced by 20.4% compared to the same months last year. The average price of all property types is about $431,000 and is a 3.8% year-over-year increase. I remember in my last video, I was saying that the average price of Toronto housing is about $1.05 million in this February. That's really crazy compared to these numbers in Calgary, which is also rated as one of the best places to live in the world. Now let's look at them by property types. Detached house price was about $502,000 and 5% increase compared to February last year. Semi-detached was about $400,000, 3.5% increase. Row or townhouse price was $284,000. 1.2% increase. Apartment price was $246,000, 0.8% increase. This is very similar to our observation in Toronto, where data was saying that people are moving out of the city centers to suburban areas where there are more detached homes. These numbers in Calgary are more than 50% cheaper than those in Toronto in the same time period. I've talked about that in my previous video, and if you're interested, you can find its link in the description below. This graph is showing the average prices of all property types across different districts. So, as you might expect, the most expensive region is West Calgary, including Aspenwood, with an average price of $523,000, actually $524,000, close to that. The second most expensive region is in the city center. It's about $483,000. The third most expensive region is the Northwest, including the Rocky Ridge and University of Calgary, about $480,000. The cheapest region is East Calgary, $303,000. Now let's look at the daily and weekly housing summary. This is great. You don't have to wait a month to know what just happened in the previous months. You just need to wait a day to know what just happened yesterday. I think it would let you make better decisions. I believe this is updated daily. As you can see, these data are comparing the first week of March this year with the first week of March last year, along with the numbers of the last 3 days, March 4th to March 6th. As you can see, the average price of last week is about $497,000, which is about 5.9% higher than that of the same period last year, $469,000. Compared to the February average of $431,000, it is 8.85% higher. I really hope the average of the next 3 weeks of March is much lower than this. But it seems that won't be much lower. If that's true, that probably means that Calgary housing prices just started rising. The median price is exactly $450,000, which is about 10.94% higher than that of the same period of last year, $405,000. Because the median price is lower than the average price, that means there is a few very expensive homes that drove the average price up above the median price. This also means that there are about 50% sales, or about 280 units sold under $450,000. And I believe most of these houses sold under $450,000 are apartments, semi-detached, and row or townhouse, not detached. And most of those sold above the $450,000 are mostly detached. Now let's see if that's true. Let's look at them by property types for the same week, last week. I myself is looking to buy a detached home. That's why I'm looking so close to these numbers. Let's start with apartment prices for the same period. The average price is about $281,000, which is about 1.97% lower than that of the same period last year, $287,000. The median price is even more different. It is $242,000 this year and $260,000 last year, 6.92% lower. There were about 69 units of sales last week for condo apartments. I think all of these 69 units prices are probably lower than $450,000, which is the median price of all property types for the same week that we just saw earlier. Now let's see if the average price and median price of detached home is much higher than $450,000. The average price of detached for the same period, the first week of March, is $571,000, 2.11% lower than that of the same period last year. The median price is about $510,000, 7.37% higher than that of last year. This is telling an interesting story. This is saying that there were probably a few much more expensive detached homes were sold during the same period last year, and that drove the average price up about the median price. So in this case, I think we should value the median price much more than the average price, because the average price has been distorted by a few extremely expensive sales. So the median price is about 7.37% higher than that of the last year. To me, this is still crazy. Within just 1 year, it increased by 7.37%. Of course, compared to Toronto, it's not so much crazy, actually. In this February, compared to the prior February, the average price of detached home in Toronto increased by about 23%. That growth is more than 3 times faster than that in Calgary. Of course, in different time periods. Another surprise in this graph is that the total sales increased by about 108%, more than doubled, up to 372 units of sales. I believe prices of most of these 372 units of sales are higher than $450,000, which is the median price of all types that we just saw. It's basically saying that due to this ultra low interest rate, the detached home price is rising a lot, probably faster than your salary grows over the same time period. Let's look at semi-detached and townhouse briefly. Semi-detached average price increased by about 7.3% to $474,000 compared to that of last year, but median price decreased by 3.47% to $390,000. Sales also increased by about 116% as well. Another distortion by a few extremely expensive homes. Row and townhouse, the average price increased by about 10.14%, median price increased by 1.4%. So that's pretty much it for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. You can find my related video in the description below. There I talked about living in Toronto and Calgary as well. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to destroy the like button below and smash the subscribe button if you haven't. As always, see you next time.